Hi, I'm Patty Ann Brown, and you are in the Strategy Room. The general election is only 13 days away, and early voting has already begun in several states. According to the National Conference of State Legislatures, 37 states now offer voters a way to cast their ballots early, either in person or by absentee ballot. This idea of convenience voting remains controversial. Some states question whether it could lead to fraud. Others say it's good for our democracy since it brings in people who can't make it to the polls on election day or shy away from long lines. So joining us now, Democratic strategist Joe Listingi and Republican strategist Charmaine Yost. Welcome to both of you.
Hi, Patty Ann. Thanks for having us.
So according to the Huffington Post, as of Sunday, 5.9 million people have already voted early in this election cycle. Joe, what do you make of this trend?
Well, I am one of them, and I'm actually really proud to be one. We've seen these numbers growing over the past 3 or 4 cycles as more states have incorporated this. Just to give you an example, in the state of Arizona, they have this list called the Permanent Early Vote List. It's people who are automatically mailed their ballots. A majority of that state is on those rolls. So they will get their ballots and have had them now for almost 2 weeks and will cast their ballots prior to Election Day. This is amazing to think about, that these people who often would be stuck in long lines or maybe even have to work a 9 to 5 and couldn't make it to the polls on a Tuesday actually can now participate. This is great for our democracy. We're seeing other states incorporate it. And the truth is that working America needs this. They need this so that they can participate and they don't have to take time off of work to do what is their right.
You know, the Associated Press reports that early voters are projected to make up more than half of the electorate in 6 crucial states. The conventional wisdom is that early voters tend to vote Democrat. Charmaine, do you agree with that? And what is your take on early voting?
Well, you know, there is the old joke, vote early, vote often. So I'm with Joe. I'm voting absentee as well. You know, there's a lot that's positive about it. I completely agree that we should have more people voting. The real catch is they need to be alive. You know, the classic Democratic dirty trick is to, you know, comb the rolls and find those dead people to vote. We want our people to be actual voters. And frankly, it's very troubling. A lot of people are concerned heading into this election because Democrats have been long-term advocates of loosening up the qualifications for voting. You know, you should at least have to present some sort of identification to prove that you are an actual real live voter who is alive and who is connected to a particular voting place. There's some baseline things that we have to maintain in order to keep our democracy, having people having a trust in the validity of the voting process. So that would be my one concern. Otherwise, I think it's a really great thing. And frankly, the exciting thing is that the data that we're seeing shows that the early voting is tending to favor Republicans. So I hear you, Joe, but that's what we're seeing.
That's not even close to accurate.
We are seeing an increase in Republicans, which goes to underscore the enthusiasm gap that Hillary has struggled with through this entire campaign.
Okay, so Joe, another downside to early voting is that these voters miss some of those October surprises that come up late in the game. I mean, for Mrs. Clinton, WikiLeaks would be an example. For Mr. Trump, it would be these new accusations of sexual misconduct. Might these scandals have changed some voters' minds? Is there the potential that some might regret their vote as some revelations come out?
Yeah. So here's the benefit of all of this, right? You, as an American citizen, have the right to vote, and in this case, in some of these states, when you so choose. And when you make up your mind and you cast your ballot, that is your choice, and you get to choose to do that. You don't have to take off work to do that. You don't have to do. It is just something you drop in the mail and you send in. So if you regret your ballot afterwards, I'm sure there are plenty of people on the other side of the aisle who are going to regret their ballot on November 9th after the ballots have been cast. But you can't avoid that. The truth, when we look at early voters, and Charmaine is right in one sense, Republican turnout has gone up amongst early voters, but Democrats have outpaced them. And what we see in a lot of states is that people who have strong primary histories with Republicans or Democrats are most likely to be returning their ballots early. They're not changing their minds. There's not a lot of nonpartisan in PA people who are voting early. It's really the ends of the spectrum that really participate really early in the cycle. Now, some states like North Carolina and Georgia have tried to shorten their early vote period, maybe bust it down to about a week or 2 weeks, and the courts have come back and said you can't do that. This is an evolving process. I mean, we are one of the only industrialized nations that votes on a Tuesday, a regular work day, from 9 to 5 in some states, or 9 to 7 in some states, and that's got to change. We've got to open this process up, and early vote is the first big step to really doing that.
Right. All right. Charmaine, final thoughts.
Well, my concern is in these final 2 weeks that we have this interaction of early voting with the mainstream media all kind of trying to call this race for Hillary Clinton based on polling. And polling is not voting. I endorse these people who are getting out there and voting because polling isn't voting. We need actual people to be voting because that's what actually matters in terms of determining the outcome. We don't want to see people being dissuaded from voting by this idea that somehow this race is decided, because it most assuredly is not.
All right, let's leave it there. Joe and Charmaine, thank you both so much.
Thanks for having us.
And for complete coverage of the 2016 election, go to foxnews.com. I'm Patty Ann Brown. Thanks for watching.